Hey everyone, it's Miss Solomon here, and in this video we're looking at a poem by Ada Limon called Love Poem with Apologies for My Appearance. The title suggests that it is a love poem, yes, but it's also a space on the page where we're invited to think about intimacy, self-acceptance, and what it means to be truly seen by someone else. Let me read the poem to you first. Be sure to have your digital copy open on your computer so that you can follow along and take notes if needed. And as you listen, notice how the tone shifts from playfully deceptive and its self deprecation to something much more serious and tender by the end. So here we go. Love poem with apologies for my appearance. Sometimes I think you get the worst of me. The much loved loose forest green sweatpants, the long braless days, hair knotted and uncivilized, a shadowed brow where the devilish thoughts do their hoofed dance on the brain. I'd like to say this means I love you. The stained white cotton t-shirt, the tears, pistachio shells, the mess of orange peels on my desk, but it's different than that. I move in this house with you, the way I move in my mind, unencumbered by beauty's cage. I do like I do in the tall grass, more animal, me, than much else. I'm wrong. It is that I love you, but it's more that when you say it back, lights out, a cold wind through the curtains, for maybe the first time in my life, I believe it. While the language of this poem is accessible and real, there's so much happening emotionally and thematically. Let's break it down. So the poem begins almost jokingly. Sometimes I think you get the worst of me. I love that enjambment where she stops with the worst, requires us to pause, and then brings in that of me, anchoring it into something so specific. And then what follows is the details of all of this like list of things that feel casual and even messy. So you've got the sweatpants, braless days, knotted hair, pistachio shells, orange peels. It reminds me of you, maybe walking into the room on your partner and they're eating in bed when maybe they're not supposed to, or in a place where we may want to be a little bit more formal and put together, but we're not. These are not the carefully curated moments of romance that we may see in, maybe romantic comedies today, but more traditionally, this isn't the image that you're going to see of what romance or love looks like. But notice how Limon makes even these images feel vivid and lovable. The quote, much loved loose forest green sweatpants, very specific sweatpants that you would put on. It feels personal and lived in. And then another one where she says, quote, devilish thoughts doing their hoofed dance on the brain adds some playfulness and even a little sensuality to this partnership that we see in the poem. This humor and honesty create a feeling of intimacy right away because we feel like we're kind of eavesdropping on a private confession. Then comes a shift in the poem when she writes, quote, I move in this house with you, the way I move in my mind, unencumbered by beauty's cage. This is a huge turning point. The poem isn't just about wearing sweatpants and being messy. It's about the freedom that those two types of things and many of the other symbols in the poem allow to happen. The kind of love where you don't have to perform and you don't have to pretend. Beauty's cage is such a striking phrase because it suggests that the social pressure to be beautiful is restrictive, even imprisoning, But with this person, the speaker can move the way she moves in her own mind, completely unrestrained, authentic, and safe. I really like the line where she says, I do like I do in the tall grass, more animal me than much else. This is a familiar capital R romantic image because it's primal with the grass, that animal, unpolished and natural. Love here allows her to claim her most authentic self. And then the last lines take the poem from playful to deeply moving. And this is the reason why I put this on the reading list this time. I'm wrong. It is that I love you, but it's more that when you say it back for maybe the first time in my life, I believe it. Her endings are amazing. I love them. This is where the emotional weight of all of the poem lands. The speaker admits that yes, this messy freedom that I've shown you in this poem and every day of our love story is love. But it's also more than that. It's trust. The quiet domestic details of the poem, like lights out, a cold wind through the curtains, contrasts with this kind of like seismic emotional revelation because you're allowed to have that seismic emotional revelation whenever you're in this like unsensationalized space. There's no lights on. You've got a cold wind blowing through the curtains. Things just feel kind of cooled down enough to where you could say something this weighty in emotion. And that last phrase, for maybe the first time in my life, I believe it. We work so hard in our relationships to establish that trust. And it's like we need and we need and we need until we don't. And it's just there, that trust. The title tricks us a little bit into believing that this could be a traditional love poem, but once we've read it all the way through like this, we know that more so, this poem is about healing. It's about how love, when it's real, allows someone to believe they're worthy of it, even at their most unguarded. Lamone's poetry is so important in contemporary American literature because it celebrates ordinary life and love with extraordinary honesty. And that's why I ask you all to read so many of them here at the end of this class. This poem doesn't rely on grand romantic, as in little r romantic gestures. It's suggesting otherwise that the most radical kind of love might be one of two things, and hopefully both. One, being seen in your truest, messiest, most human form and being loved anyway. And two, even more importantly, believing that love is real. So when you read this poem, or if you read over it again, or as you're thinking about it possibly for your discussion board this week, think about how Lamone turns the mundane, those sweatpants and orange peels, into proof of intimacy. So ask yourself things like, what does real love look like in literature? Or maybe what should it look like in literature? And why might it be harder and on a more philosophical level to believe in love than to feel it? So thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy spending time with this poem. If you read this poem on your own, or if you watch this again, or that you just enjoyed being with the poem in this video. I love it because it's a small, quiet, kind of micro narrative reminder of why poetry still matters. So until next time, be good. See you later, and have a good day. Enjoy the rest of the readings.